Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Thursday, March 17th, 2022. I hope you all are doing well as you can be during this time. A lot of things are happening very quickly. This entire psyop within a psyop that is the Russia-Ukraine war is really taking a lot of people's minds off of certain things. Now, this in itself, of course, it's terrible. Like, people actually are dying, people always die during these events. Whenever the elites or Illuminati or whoever you want to call them, the 13 families up at the top, whenever they want to get something done, death and destruction is always their go-to, because depopulation is their first commandment on their guidestones. So if you might believe that it's just a production and they're just using CGI and old footage, yeah, that's partially true. But also, people are actually getting shot. That is really happening. I know that for a fact because I know somebody from Ukraine. Actually, a person on this channel who comments regularly is from Ukraine, and he verified that that is exactly what is going on. But that does not take away from the fact that other things are also going on, as in what I showed you guys on the last video. The World Health Organization's treaty that they have, that all of these nations are signing up for, basically gives the World Health Organization dominion over all of the world's governments and all of the world's people. And it redefines what a medical emergency is and all this good stuff. And I'm still going through the documentation, but I plan on presenting that to you guys very soon. Let's start with this one here. But before I start with this one more thing I have to say. This entire thing has been perfect. They got to jack the gas up. They got to jack the food up. They're saying now, well, right here, Russia's war on Ukraine risks meltdown of global food system. UN chief says. Ooh, the UN chief says. In reality, the entire world would not be brought to its knees like this when two countries are at war. And they're going to make this last so long. They are going. You better believe that this is part of the New World Order, Great Reset, whatever you want to call it, takeover. It's literally in the book, COVID-19, the Great Reset. And it doesn't, I'm not going to censor myself anymore because I'm getting to the point where I just don't care. So I'm not going to, for lack of a better term, pussyfoot around and sit there and try to censor myself and this and that, because frankly, I'm tired of it. And we have to discuss these things because they're playing the game of shutting people down again. There's been a bunch of channels and a bunch of websites that have been shut down in the last 2 weeks alone since this started. Not as much as in the beginning of 2020 and throughout 2021, but it'll get there. Okay, so meltdown of global food system. The head of the United Nations warned Monday that Russia's assault on Ukraine is pushing the global food system to the brink of disaster as wheat prices skyrocket and key supply chains are thrown into chaos, threatening a hunger crisis in Europe and well beyond. This is perfect. They want to remove the dollar as the world reserve currency. This is how they're going to get it done. This is how they're going to get it done. And then they also have a nice scapegoat for anything else. Oh, look, COVID's back. Oh, who do we blame? Russia. People will just buy it. They won't even look into it because everybody just accepts surface level things without reading. Nobody even reads articles anymore. And the whole article will be lying to you, but nobody reads articles anymore because they read headlines and they're like, well, that's what I believe. I don't want to read for myself. Experts said, right? Russia and Ukraine represent more than half the world's supply of sunflower oil and about 30% of the world's wheat, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in remarks to the press in New York City. Now, remember when we went over the UN Charter and the UN Declaration of Human Rights, and we were going through what the UN actually was, and it's a military organization because they have titles like Secretary General, which is a military term. I mean, come on. Ukraine alone provides more than half the World Food Programme's wheat supply. All of this is hitting the poorest and hardest and planting the seeds for political instability and unrest around the globe. You had to throw that one in there, of course. And yes, that's exactly what's happening by design. Why do you think they chose this route? Why do you think they allowed it to be like this? These people have been in charge for a very, very, very long time. Before any of us and any of our parents, grandparents, and grandparents were alive, these people were conspiring. Oxfam International sounded the alarm Tuesday over the impact that Russia's war on Ukraine could have on the already hunger-stricken people of Syria, a country that relies heavily on imports from Russia. Okay, there it is. That's what, 3 birds, 1 stone now? How long they've been trying to go after Syria? I remember in 2013, they said Assad was gassing his own people. Turned out it was a lie. Turned out that they saw UN mercenaries there, and they got them to admit that they were United Nations mercenaries. But it disappeared quickly from the news, and they talked about something else like, I don't know, whatever they were bringing up at that time, something stupid. So they can take Syria with this move as well. And if I'm not mistaken, Syria is one of the countries that has not sold out to the New World Order as of yet. Guterres noted in his statement that weeks into Russia's invasion, grain prices have already exceeded those at the start of the Arab Spring and the food riots of 2007-2008. In the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization's Global Food Prices Index is now at its highest level ever. 45 African and least developed countries import at least 1/3 of their wheat from Ukraine or Russia. 18 of those countries import at least 50%, Guterres continued. This includes countries like Burkina Faso, Egypt, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Funny things about all these countries were the countries that we went and, spread democracy to after 9/11. We must do everything possible to avert a hurricane of hunger and meltdown of the global food system. Oh yeah, that's what they're trying to do. Guterres also warned that Russia's invasion of its neighbor and President Vladimir Putin's alarming rhetoric has brought the prospect of a full-blown nuclear war back within the realm of possibility. Okay, for anybody who is concerned about nuclear war, I'm not saying that no bombs will be launched. I'm not saying that there won't be widespread chaos, because there most likely will be. That's part of the plan. But they want to preserve the world as is. They want to keep all of its infrastructure. They want to keep everything that they've built. They just want to have a lot less people, right? Why would they destroy everything with nuclear war? And all of these governments and presidents are puppets. If they don't get the order to launch those bombs from their bosses in the shadows, there will be no bombs to be launched. Further escalation of the war, whether by accident or design, threatens all of humanity. That's weird. Raising the alert of Russian nuclear forces is a bone-chilling development, Guterres said. It's time to stop the horror unleashed on the people of Ukraine and get the path of diplomacy and peace. The UN chief's urgent appeal for a halt to the conflict came as Russian and Ukrainian negotiators prepared for another round of talks Tuesday amid Russia's continued military onslaught, according to the Associated Press. Russia's relentless bombardment of Ukraine edged closer to central Kiev on Tuesday, with a series of strikes hitting a residential neighborhood. Shortly before dawn, large explosions thundered across Kiev from what Ukrainian authorities said were artillery strikes, AP reported. And we all basically know about all the bombings and all of that. I don't really have to go through here and read all of this. It kind of ends right here. This is just... Okay, in an address Monday night, Zelensky, who is demanding an immediate ceasefire and withdrawal of all Russian troops, sounded a note of cautious optimism following the latest round of diplomatic talks between Russia and Ukraine's delegations, saying the discussions went pretty well. Here's something for you. It's just something that I was thinking about. Now, Russia's military is considered one of the strongest militaries in the world, right? I'm pretty sure they're ranked third. Somebody can check me on that, I'm not sure. And Ukraine's military is somewhere around in the 30s, I think, like ranked like 34th or something like that. I'm not quite sure. Do you think that if this was authentic and no design was behind this and it wasn't to serve an ulterior motive and an alternate agenda, don't you think that if they really wanted to go in there and take this country that they could? I mean, just think about it. I'm not saying that that's, what would happen. I'm just asking questions here. Either way, let's move on. Okay, here's one for you. Now, we went through this before with old old Bill Gates, releasing these mosquitoes before, but here's some more. Millions of genetically modified mosquitoes to be set loose in the United States. You gotta ask yourself why. Why do they want to release all these mosquitoes? Mosquitoes are the number one transmitter of disease, bar none. Literally, they can land on you, bite you, and infect you so quick you wouldn't even realize it. Millions of genetically modified mosquitoes will be released in the United States as part of an initiative to replace the insects carrying deadly diseases. Yeah, that's literally backwards. That's literally backwards. How would they even... Come on. The company behind the plan announced Tuesday. Oh, look at all these ads. I hope my recording app doesn't crash. The program, led by biotechnology company Oxitec, will release roughly 2 million genetically altered mosquitoes in California and Florida to fend off other mosquitoes carrying deadly diseases like Zika, yellow fever, dengue, I think that's how you say that, dengue, and chikungunya. The company said in a press release. The EPA approved Oxitec's plan on March 8th. Quote, given the growing health threat this mosquito poses across the U.S., we're working to make this technology available and accessible, Oxitec Chief Executive Officer Gray Bransden said in the press release. Oxitec's mosquitoes are genetically modified to control the invasive Aedes or Aedes, I have no idea, Aegypti mosquito, which first appeared in California in 2013, according to the company press release. Species are known to carry and spread various deadly diseases. These pilot programs, wherein we can demonstrate the technology's effectiveness in different climate settings, will play an important role in doing so, Branston added. We look forward to getting to work this year. Just think about this. Just think about the prospect of releasing genetically modified mosquitoes. What, do you think they're just going to target those other mosquitoes? You think that's all they're going to do? Come on. Let's get serious. Let's move on. Okay, here we are over at whitehouse.gov, the horse's mouth. There's no middleman involved here. If you ever wondered about the idea of a one world digital economy that we know that they want, I just showed you guys the World Economic Forum's plan for their digital identity. Check this out. Executive order on ensuring responsible development of digital assets. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1, Policy. Advances in digital and distributed ledger technology for financial services have led to dramatic growth in markets for digital assets, with profound implications for the protection of consumers, investors, and businesses, including data privacy and security, financial stability, and systemic risk, crime, national security, the ability to exercise human rights, financial inclusion and equity, and energy demand and climate change. Gee, that's a lot to cover one executive order. In November 2021, non-state issued digital assets reached a combined market capitalization of $3 trillion, up from approximately $14 billion in early November 2016. Monetary authorities globally are also exploring and in some cases introducing central bank digital currencies. How long have we been talking about this? Hell, Bill Cooper was talking about this. You will be a slave chained to a computer for the rest of your life. This was the plan all along. And people are leaning right into it with these with the Bitcoin and the new one, whatever it is, NFTs or something. All you have to do is cut the power and you no longer have anything. Real wealth comes from the land, gold and silver. Tangible things that can be used by humans. We have the power as human beings to declare anything as wealth. I have something that you want and you need. You have something that I want and I need. What you have is valuable to me. Therefore, that makes you wealthy in my eyes because I don't have that, and vice versa. Only through years and decades, actually decades and decades and decades of brainwashing and getting you to accept that you need a piece of paper, which is actually a note of debt to be paid back at a later date, which you will not be able to pay back. Therefore, you will have to forfeit all of your property. That's the point of the Federal Reserve System. That's why we were taken off the gold standard. That's why we were issued Federal Reserve notes backed only by nothing, actually. It's not even worth the paper it's printed on anymore. And that was by design. And now we're at a point in this, postmodern era where the US dollar is no longer needed. They don't need it. They used it to gain their power and to institute their New World Order around the globe, set it up, and then... Sorry, I heard some kind of chopper or something. You guys might be able to hear it. Yeah, well. You hear that? Well. Yeah, he'll turn up. Anyway. So they got everybody on this money system, only to be taken off at a later date and transitioned over to these central bank digital currencies. I'm not going to go through all of this because there's a lot, and I mean a lot. But you guys can go through here and you can read it. I will post the link. You guys can go through, you can read it, you can decipher it, decode it, whatever way you want, and just basically read what they say. Let's see. And they keep going on about protecting consumers, investors, and businesses in the United States. Digital assets can pose significant financial risk to consumers, investors, and businesses if appropriate protections are not in place. I'm not even going to go through here and paraphrase any of this, but if you get out of line when they have this new system set up for the world, if you get out of line, they're just going to cut off your central bank digital currencies. They're just going to cut you off with the push of a button. Some guy sitting behind a desk, boom, you're done. You do what I do, you post videos, you talk about stuff, boom, done. We don't like you anymore. You're going to starve, you're going to be homeless, we don't care. Whereas if we were on a barter and trade system with gold and silver, they couldn't do that. They would have to actually go out and come find you and take whatever you had or arrest you or whatever they were going to do. This gives them unprecedented power over all of us. That is the point of everything going on right now. This is part of the New World Order system. It's a key part. It's the part that will allow them to gain all this power. And it's not just going to be here. There will be a one world digital currency. We have the patent for it. WO 2020 060606. Patent by Microsoft. Cryptocurrency system using body activity data. And it basically says, actually not basically, it does say that if you get out of line and your body activity data is not verified by the cryptocurrency system, boom, cut off. But, I might just be one of those pesky conspiracy theorists that just go blabbing on with no real evidence of anything that I've ever said, even though I've shown in most of my earlier videos all the evidence that you would ever need to see, but that's beside the point. Let's move on. All right, here's a good one for you. I had to laugh when I saw this. Actually, I had a little chuckle, but also I didn't, because they're starting to become afraid, because knowledge is power, and people are starting to wake up. Even though it's a slow process and a lot of people are holding us back, a lot of people are waking up, but they're too afraid to go out and say something about it, for just the simple fact that they're afraid to be ridiculed. You got to put that fear behind you. If you have facts and that's it, you will not be ridiculed. Nobody will even try to challenge you. And I can show you guys. I go into comment sections all the time. I see people talking about just some stupid stuff they see on mainstream media. And they'll be on there saying this and that. And I'll get on there and just put one giant long paragraph with a couple links and nothing. No reactions, no comments, nobody's calling me names, nobody's even trying. You know why? Because you can't refute irrefutable evidence in your face. DHS scanning employees' social media for, you guessed it, conspiracy theories, extremism. Also, remember how much time they spent poisoning the well, you could say. Mixing truth with lies for a long period of time. The Department of Homeland Security published a report recommending an increased focus on scanning the social media accounts of its employees in order to detect extremism. Hey, do me a favor, define extremism. Exactly. And, we have Patriot Act and NDAA can define it for you. We went over that. We went over the 72 types of Americans to be considered extremist terrorists. And we are all on that list. Even the guy that doesn't talk or know anything, he's on that list. Among the examples of extremism cited by DHS are a belief that fraud occurred in the 2020 election and objections to current coronavirus policies. The whole fraud 2020 election thing doesn't really matter, because elections have never mattered, just like presidents have never mattered. You'd be surprised at all the people that confuse me with I get called conservative by liberals, and I get called liberals by conservatives, but I just sit there and dump on them both. I'm like, you're all falling for an age-old tactic called Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, over and over and over again, also known as good cop, bad cop. Any other variant or name that they've given to it throughout the years. Okay, a March 2021 unclassified threat assessment prepared by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, Department of Justice, and DHS noted that domestic violent extremists who are motivated by a range of ideologies and galvanized by recent political and societal events in the United States pose an elevated threat to the homeland in 2021. Remember, we went over that, the bulletin? We went over it in detail. The assessment pointed to newer socio-political developments, such as narratives of fraud at the recent general election, the emboldening impact of the violent breach of the U.S. Capitol, conditions related to the C-19 pandemic, and conspiracy theories promoting violence that will almost certainly spur some domestic violent extremists to try to engage in violence this year. So are they telling us that they have something planned for this year? I read a lot of people's thoughts and whatnot across the web, and I never see anybody calling for any kind of violence or anything like that. The report shows increased DHS concern with rooting out extremists within its own ranks, including through monitoring the social media accounts of employees. Studies and pilots have suggested that certain online activity may represent behavior of potential concern to national security and could be useful in assessing an individual's trustworthiness, judgment, or reliability. And publicly available electronic information, including social media checks, have proven to be of limited value as standalone sources of information. However, when coupled with and corroborated by other data and investigative follow-up, the use of PAEI, which is, the publicly available electronic information, can be a powerful tool in preventing and detecting domestic violent extremism-related threats. So, it's safe to say they're starting to shake in their shoes a little bit, because they know that this stuff is going to be blown wide open at some point in time. You can only conceal a lie for so long until it becomes too much. And they're already coming apart at the threads on a lot of other lies that people just seem to overlook, and then they have to lie, and then the new lie that they told unravels the old lie, but it doesn't matter because nobody ever remembers the old lie. This is incredibly multifaceted, as everybody has always known, especially those of us that have been doing this for a long time. Moving on. Oh, right, here we are over at a website called NWOReport.me. The Great Reset is the Great Con. And this was the guy that wrote it, John Rappaport. More than a year ago, I pointed out that you shouldn't look for logic in trying to figure out why COVID necessitates the Great Reset. It's a hustle and not a very good one. The main PR, public relations grifter, Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, points to the devastating economic consequences stemming from the pandemic. That's why we have to reorder the whole world. Remember all that? Beginning of 2020, talking about reorganizing and reordering the entire world. But digging down a few inches below his bloviation, we see this. The economic devastation equals the lockdowns. Yeah, the lockdowns is when they shut down like every small business but kept Walmarts and whatnot open. And all these big corporations, they were allowed to open and have 1,000+ people in the store, but you go down to old Ed and Jane's coffee shop down here on the corner, well, you're not allowed in there because COVID, right? Experts said. But what if the experts are... Nope, no questions. Experts said. In other words, the lockdown policy of governments brought on the economic horror story, and now, to correct that action, which never should have been taken in the first place, we have to transform the world by putting globalists in complete control. If you buy that line of thought, I have condos for sale on Jupiter. Sad part is, a lot of these people would probably believe that. Here's another translation of what Schwab is saying. With people reeling from the COVID restrictions, globalists can pull a smoke and mirrors act and steal everything they haven't already stolen. Schwab then follows this up with a new pile of gibberish about turning corporations into stakeholder capitalists. I did a whole piece on stakeholder capitalism. And what is it? Fascism, by definition. Literally, by definition. I compared the definition of fascism to Schwab's definition of stakeholder capitalism, and they are the same. One and the same. Meaning these companies would care more about their workers, their communities, their environmental impacts, and the planet. The vague generalities are a tip-off. Somebody's going to have to define them and enforce them. That would be who? A bureaucracy of vast size working for a global governance body. Of course, the New World Order government that they've been wanting forever, that they told us and still are telling us that they've wanted forever. And basically just makes another little joke there. A word about environmental impacts. If polluting corporations themselves weren't controlling national departments of justice, we would already have a far cleaner environment, and many corporate CEOs, friends of Schwab, would be in prison. That's the truth. Transforming the world order isn't going to solve environmental problems. Reducing our carbon footprint by lowering energy production across the world, thus creating more poverty, is not a solution. The need for a reset doesn't flow from COVID. The false pandemic was launched so that a reset could be ushered in. Again, old news, we already know this. It's in the book, where Klaus Schwab literally admits that COVID is nothing. Those are his words, not mine. The need for a reset doesn't flow. Oh, wait, I already read that. Unfortunately, we have millions and millions of rubes and yokels who, when billionaires say love and peace, we're all in this together, get down on their knees and exclaim, finally, a better world. What would that better world actually consist of? Wall-to-wall surveillance, universal guaranteed income tied to social credit score, elimination of private property, massive censorship, freezing and seizure of bank accounts, technologies deployed to reprogram humans. This great reset is miracle of miracles, a set of plants that sprang to life full-blown in the minds of humanitarian leaders after COVID was announced in January of 2020. The oldest con of cons is bait and switch. Bait people with a story about a virus, and then while you're protecting them from the fairy tale germ, switch over to the reset and say, don't worry, it's part of the protection. That's exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. Here's an argument mentally challenged people are fond of making. If you sincerely and earnestly want a better planet, that's all that counts. The details and who will take charge in creating that planet are of minor importance. Leave the job to the experts, right? Because we're not responsible enough. We're not smart enough, right? We don't have the capability or the resources that the experts do. So we just got to sit back and enjoy the ride. But wishing doesn't make it so. Generalities don't automatically translate to desired outcomes. How do you think leaders have always conned their followers? By promising them pain, suffering, poverty, and slavery? Leaders offer peace and happiness. They have to. Happiness will come in this life or the next, and it will be managed by entities the leaders promote. Sorry, that was my buddy texting me. His son was born today. Even when the manager is God himself, it's not your God, it's the God in the stories the political leaders tell. He's the one they want you to worship. They know you have your own, and they try to make you believe theirs and yours are the same. How true is that? So, what this guy wrote here is spot on. I mean, really, just read Klaus Schwab's book. It's a literal manifesto of the entire operation. Let's move on. Okay, here's the last one that I'm going to do for tonight. This comes to us from Waking Times. Their mind control and your great reset. I'm going to begin this piece with a few quotes. First, two from the father of public relations, Edward Bernays, in his 1928 book entitled Propaganda. We all know about Edward Bernays. We know who this guy is. Listen to this. Quote, if we understand the mechanisms and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without their knowing it in almost every act of our daily lives. Whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and societal patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind. Edward Bernays. And basically this second quote is the second part of this first quote, but how true is that? There's a reason that this guy is considered the father of public relations. There's a reason this guy is credited with a lot. Now a few from Israeli historian and advisor to Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, Yuval Noah Harari. I actually didn't know that guy was advisor to Klaus Schwab. Taken from videos of some of his recent speeches on the direction that transhumanism is taking. Don't forget about that. Data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships by hacking organisms. Elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself, because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it. How many times have we heard them talk about the Internet of Bodies, hacking human beings? Sounds insane. Nobody could have made that up, except for the people that wish to bring that technology about, and they have. Everybody's already got it. Now, in the past, many tyrants and governments wanted to do it, but nobody understood biology well enough. Nobody had enough computing power and data to hack millions of people. Neither the Gestapo nor the KGB could do it. But soon at least some corporations and governments will be able to systematically hack all the people. And if indeed we succeed at hacking and engineering life, this will be not just the greatest revolution in the history of humanity, this will be the greatest revolution in biology since the very beginning of life 4 billion years ago. Yeah, right. For 4 billion years, nothing fundamental changed. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design and the intelligent of our clouds. The IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud, these are the new driving forces of evolution. Time out. What is this? Intelligent design, so as in man will become God, right? Isn't that the original lie that the serpent told Eve? Oh, you will be as God, knowing good from evil. It's a good thing. Free yourselves from the shackles of God. This has Luciferianism written all over it, and the sad part is people would read this and they would probably think it was cool because they can get some movie downloaded into their brain or whatever the hell people like these days with their 10-second attention span. Here's another quote by him. Today we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. My brain, my body, my life. Does it belong to me or to some corporation or the government or perhaps to a human collective? We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls. We are now hackable animals. This is the way that they see you and me. They are most definitely hacking human beings. But you try to tell people that and they're like, no, they can't do that. That's impossible. They can't hack human beings. Yes, they can. And they are. And people willingly went out and took the technology. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult to see through this stuff. Just listen to what they say. That's all you have to do. Listen to what they tell you they're doing and take their word for it. They lie a lot, but they also tell you the truth about what they're going to do to you. These two perspectives on invading the private lives and minds of individuals via corporate and government influence are almost 100 years apart. And here you are, stuck somewhere in between the previous reality of the rugged individual and the projected future of technocratic enslavement to a class of corporate and governmental elites. So since you're here and not yet there, why not take a moment to reflect on what it means to have your life hacked by such bold visionaries as Bernays and Harari? Why not see if it's possible to undo some of the programming that makes you hackable animal first and a human being last? Why not consider the possibility of shedding some of the programming that makes you easy to steal from, easy to manipulate, easy to deceive, easy to control? Why not examine the ways in which this deliberate attack on your behavioral sovereignty is already making you compliant in your own slavery and the derailment of things which would make your life unique, interesting, purposeful, and meaningful? Why do you think they spent so much time breaking us down over the last however many centuries? Why not bring your full attention to the situation in your own life to see if you can clear the clutter of much behavioral manipulation from it? Why not use this brief moment in time to transition from one major crisis to the next, to seek clarity within yourself about what you would do with your life without the clever suggestions and social engineering leading you astray from a life that suits you? There's an old saying, that you don't know can't hurt you, but this is not always true. In fact, in our world today, what you don't know can hurt you, and it is. Then he goes on to say, so many people I speak to and work with are stuck in self-defeating patterns of behavior that make it difficult for them to see through the present moment to find lasting solutions to their problems. That's actually a perfect way to sum it up. I also work with these type of people. They would rather give their entire life and the responsibility over it to somebody else to manage. People in this day and age love their servitude. Isn't that what, I can't think of his name now. I have it on the tip of my tongue. I just can't think of it. Aldous Huxley. Yeah. Isn't that what he said? That people will love their servitude? Well, people love their servitude as long as they can go home at night, watch television, they're good. They can't seem to overcome self-destructive habits, and they can't seem to make significant, meaningful progress toward their most important goals. It makes sense that if you knew what was best for you, you'd do it. Easy peasy, but it isn't that simple. And because most people know what's best for them, and they know what's not serving them, you have to wonder why so many daily decisions, like whether or not to drink alcohol, eat junk food, or what action to take toward major goals, seem to be driven by a part of you that doesn't want you to be healthy, wealthy, or experience the success that you deserve. Yeah, it's like a subconscious thing, right? Because they plant this stuff in your subconscious. Because if you were aware of it, then you could recognize that you're being manipulated and you could discard it with your conscious mind. But many people, they don't even know that they don't know that there's something going on. They think everything is just at face value, what they're being told. That's it. There's an open secret in our world, and when you understand what's really going on, it's easy to spot this in play all around you. And when you do, it gives you a chance of overcoming that part of yourself, which always seems to pull you backward toward mediocrity. The open secret has to do with how the human mind works, how predictable it is, and how easy it is to hack. Something both Harari and Bernays know very well. Here it is. Human beings will copy, repeat, imitate, and mimic whatever other human beings are doing, even if the behavior causes harm to themselves or others. Yeah, monkey see, monkey do, right? Your parents ever tell you that when you were a kid? Monkey see, monkey do? We have an entire world of people that would rather follow the guy in front of them, or the lady across from them, or even whatever the child is doing. They would rather follow them instead of make their own decisions, go their own path. Well, what they don't know, and they're completely unaware of the prospect of, those people are also following somebody else. And if you follow that up the chain, where does it get you? Right to the engineers of society and this new world order that we now find ourselves living in. So, the reason for this is rooted in the scientific understanding that the subconscious mind is where 95% of all brain activity takes place. But it's subconscious, that is, below your consciousness awareness. You don't have cognizance of what's going on down there, even though it is a lot. You know, if you take a book and you just like flip through it real fast, like brrr, done, your subconscious mind will absorb every single word, every single piece of punctuation, all of it. It will absorb all of it, and then it will become part of your person. It gets filed away and it becomes part of your personality. Well, the so-called important parts that your mind thinks might be important to your everyday life and the survival of you as a human being. Only when things make it through your conscious mind can you yourself filter them and decide what to do with that information and how to apply it. In order to get people to actively participate in the destruction of their future and to acquiesce to restrictive measures and mandates, in order to get people to believe that war is the road to peace, that censorship is needed to protect freedom, and surveillance is required to maintain sovereignty, they have to be trained to fear their autonomy and trained to relinquish their power. Accomplishing this is rather simple when you employ that open secret I mentioned. The functional everyday result of almost 100 years of deliberate, elite-managed mind control, behavioral modification, and social engineering is revealed as self-sabotage. And we have all the paperwork on there, MK Ultra, MK Naomi. We have the paperwork for all of their mind control experiments and why they were doing so many, especially during the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s. The CIA was doing nothing but mind control. When people self-sabotage, it means they engage in behavior that makes it difficult or near impossible to reach their potential and access the full gifts of their personal power. They do things which take them further away from their dreams and a best life, even though they know well enough that they can do better. It's a self-destructive cycle which leads one down to the lowest levels of consciousness, shame, guilt, apathy, and resignation. apathy is one of our biggest problems in this world today. The fact that people can sit there and watch people die on television or hear about it, that desensitizes you. It makes you care a little less every time that information is filtered by the blue light, which is your screen. So your mind, in your subconscious mind, doesn't really think that it's going on. And they show you so many movies of people getting shot, violent movies, this and that, TV shows. They show you people dying in almost every TV show through the hands of somebody else. That only further drives the point home that whenever you do see real people dying on screen or even in person, most people now, they're going to act like they care for about 5 seconds, but they won't get mad enough to actually do something about it. Because this type of behavior originates in the subconscious mind, they don't do this intentionally. It happens below level of conscious choice, automatically, where deeply embedded programs run. This is where the mind control really lives. I guess I could have just read that next paragraph instead of explaining it my way. But I'm the rambling man, right? When people are stressed, as we all are, and when they are afraid, as many of us are, and when they are poisoned, most of us are, the brain defaults to lower modes of thinking. In this state, we simply don't have access to our full intelligence, creativity, problem-solving ability, and ingenuity. We're triggered psychologically into what is known as fight or flight mode, which shifts our priorities toward overcoming our immediate need of security, safety, and fulfillment. We focus on the immediate danger and seek instant gratification and relief from the feeling of fear. Why do you think spend so much time terrifying the shit out of everybody? Pardon my French. Why do you think they spend so much time on that? It's for this reason. It's so they can keep you under their control. When the brain is in fight or flight, which it almost always is these days, functioning below its full capacity, we automatically seek the perceived safety of belonging to the majority tribe. To venture above and beyond what the tribe is doing would mean taking the risk of being attacked by that tribe, in addition to other threats we sense. How true is that? Below the high IQ center of the brain, our motives change from self-realization to group adherence, social conformity. We look for signs about what the group is doing, and the subconscious mind tells us that emulating them is the safest thing to do, no matter if it's self-destructive, senseless, stupid, immoral, or dangerous. Is this not exactly how people in our world are today? And it's funny because they think that their thoughts are their own. I'm sorry to tell you, they're not. They are not. And all the poisons in the air, food, water, and medicine just it adds on to it. It allows you to go deeper into that state of mind to where you are just going to keep seeking that feeling that takes you away from fear, which is when you swallow the prepackaged news stories and happenings of the world today. And now with social media, people can see what other people are saying on a daily basis and what they believe to make sure that they stay with the tribe. It scans our environment looking for repetitive clues on how to act. And this is where the mind control really reveals itself. Look around. Our environment is loaded with repetitive negative messaging coming from corporate media, Hollywood, TV, government, and corporate profiteers. Why do I even go on these tangents and explain things if they're just going to say it in the next paragraph? Anyway, so much of it tells you to destroy yourself with drugs, pills, degrade your body with surgical modifications, ruin your family with chaos and dysfunction, pollute yourself with crap food and caffeine, and to avoid being wealthy or self-reliant. If a person automatically and against their natural desire for success and happiness does things which restrict their potential in life, they become a non-threat to the elite people and systems which are counting on mass acquiescence and obedience in order to lead us all into the corral of techno-slavery. To guys like Bernays and Harari, who believe that you are their cattle to corral, control, and cull. But again, here you are today, not quite there yet. You still have options. You still have a choice. You still have a chance to access your power, step up to the calling of your life. I expand greatly on these subjects in an upcoming live Zoom event. Yep. I might watch that. And he keeps going on about his personal life now. talking about his, well, that's basically it. So you can see, and when I was reading that, I'm sure you did what I was doing as I was explaining it, is I was thinking of all the people that I know that are like this. And it's a lot. And they've done such a good job at making sure that they keep people beat down so much. Why do you think everyone just took what they told them in the last 2 years at face value, didn't apply any critical thought to it, and ridiculed anybody who tried to apply any critical thought to it or any research? One person starts making fun of you, monkey see, monkey do. Going back to this here, now you got 100 people making fun of you. And then more people are like, whoa, you're outnumbered. Oh man, I'm going to join the tribe. Can you imagine if we hit a point of critical mass to where people knew what was going on and the tribe became the majority, and it was people like us? All these people, these sheeple that are just throwing themselves around in whatever way humanity itself is going just to fit in. It would be the end of the New World Order. It would be the end of any of that, and it would be the start of something truly great and the restoration of freedom within the world. It's a lot of information in a video here. Wow, I actually almost went to an hour like I usually do. I wasn't even trying to do that. But all right, I will go ahead and end this here. I will put the links in the description. Let's say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.